Hi, my name is Abby Schmidt, and we will be talking about Orca Captivity today. So, what is it? Basically, it is the capture and breeding of orcas for entertainment. According to the WDC, there are currently 58 captive orcas around the world, including Canada, Europe, Russia, the Americas, Japan, and China. So this affects wild orcas in the environment just as much as it affects the orcas who are actually in captivity. Orcas are among the top predators of the oceans, and when you take out the top predator, you start getting overpopulation of fish and very unhealthy ecosystems. Each pod of orcas actually has their own dialect and their own culture, which is really cool, but the capture of orcas, of wild orcas, is actually pushing some of these pods towards extinction. Now, orca captivity is also very, very devastating to orcas socially. They have a very deep connection with their families, almost deeper than people even have. Orcas actually will remain with their mothers for their entire life. So taking an orca calf away from his mother is almost, if not as bad, as taking a human child away from his mother. Now, captive orcas have a wide range of issues that they struggle with. One of these is a collapsed dorsal fin. As you can see in this picture here, many orcas in captivity have a collapsed dorsal fin. According to Felipe Alves, it is very rare to see wild orcas with a collapsed dorsal fin. Now, this is so common in captive orcas because they cannot swim as deep for as long as they need to in order to strengthen up that dorsal fin so it stands up all nice, tall, and proud. In short, they spend too much time at the surface because the pools that they live in just aren't deep enough. Now, habitat size is also a big problem for captive orcas. They can't swim as much as they would in the wild. Wild orcas actually will swim up to 140 miles per day, and orcas in captivity can't do that when they're staying in pools that aren't even twice as long as them. So now orca trainers pride themselves in exercising their orcas and making sure they have plenty of activity, but it's just not the same. Orcas are very territorial, and while they are very social and close to their families, they can go after each other, and when you are in a little pool with 4 or 5 plus orcas, if one of them goes to attack you, there's nowhere to go, and the orca being attacked pretty much just has to take it. Now, orcas in captivity commonly struggle with behavioral disorders. This includes abnormal aggression, boredom, depression. Some of them have even been known to commit suicidal actions. And aggression, particularly in orcas, is actually very rare, as ironic as that is since they're known as killer whales. Wild orcas have never been known to kill a human, and it is very rare, if you ever hear about it, to hear about a wild orca attacking a person. So, orcas in captivity are so aggressive because they're bored, depressed, lethargic. They have nothing else to do. Inbreeding is another problem with captive orcas. Tilikum, who became popular with the documentary Blackfish because he was their primary focus, he sired about 21 calves at SeaWorld, and some of those he was bred with his relatives, and those calves went on to be bred with their relatives. This, of course, is very healthy, causes for a lot of genetic mutations and disorders and all that kind of stuff, which does not make for happy or healthy orcas in captivity. So that is also an issue. And finally, orcas in captivity typically live much shorter lives than orcas in the wild. They can't grow right, they're depressed, they're not living correct orca lives, pretty much. There have also been a lot of miscarriages and stillborns in orcas born in captivity, which makes you kind of wonder what the problems are, because that's not overly common in the wild. Of course, we can't know for sure, but you don't really hear about that in the orcas that we've been watching in the wild. Now, just like any problems, there are some benefits to having orcas in captivity. We have learned so much about orca behavior, orca anatomy, especially in their reproduction, such as the gestation period of a female orca, things like that, because we just couldn't get close to the wild orcas to know about that or watch those behaviors. So that has been a huge benefit, is getting to know more about orcas so that we can better protect them in the wild. Also, any marine park that has orca encounters like SeaWorld, that's probably how they're making most of their money and how they've become so popular. This funding helps with the upkeep of the parks to keep all their animals healthy and their tanks clean and all that sort of thing, which is very good. It's also helped to fund SeaWorld projects with rescuing and conservation, because despite their bad rap for orca captivity, SeaWorld does actually do a lot of good for the ocean. They have done so much research and conservation and rescue and rehabilitation that they do deserve credit for all the good that they've been doing for the oceans, despite their questionable tactics of keeping captive orcas. Now, there are some solutions that would be very good to implement to help with this problem. Blackfish was a pivotal point for SeaWorld, and after some time of going on the defensive and making all kinds of accusations towards Blackfish, they did finally come around and start making some changes. And I think a lot of marine parks would benefit by following these changes that SeaWorld has made. For example, ending their breeding program. They announced in 2016 that their breeding program would end, so the orcas that are here now are going to be the last generation at SeaWorld, and that is awesome. Also, expanding enclosures would be great to help orcas live out the rest of their lives in happy, bigger enclosures. SeaWorld hasn't done that because it is very expensive, but they've taken the approach of making their enclosures look more natural to help with their more educational themed orca encounters. One suggestion that I actually really like is something that Gabrielle Cowperthwaite suggested. She's the director of Blackfish. She mentioned in an interview with KPBS that sea sanctuaries would be a good place to keep their orcas. Basically, you net off part of the ocean, they can swim deeper, they have a bigger area, it would just be a much healthier environment for the orcas. And finally, making orca captures illegal would be huge. There are no laws prohibiting orca captures, but in America you do need a permit to capture an orca for entertainment or research reasons. So why does this matter? Well, having happy and healthy orcas out in the wild makes for a happy and healthy ecosystem, which benefits everybody. We want healthy oceans, and orcas are vital in making that happen. Also, happy and healthy orcas. We like happy and healthy orcas. Wild and free orcas tend to be a lot happier and healthier than orcas in captivity. They can thrive in the wild because that's where they're supposed to be. And finally, watching and observing these amazing creatures in their natural habitat provides ethical research and education so that we can still learn about them without harming them. And we can all learn about what beautiful and magnificent creatures these are in their natural habitats. Thank you very much.